Hey. Oh, okay. This makes me laugh because Wickham's in the car. I know he's like, I'm trying to get there.
I have to poop so bad right now.
There's the information we're all looking for.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Oh, God. We could have written that one if we tried.
That is too darn good. Holy hell.
Things you can't make up.
Oh, my God, yes. God, that's too funny right there. Wow. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say to that. I don't.
Chad speechless.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've all been there, where we're like, whoa, you got the left leg out straight. You're holding on. You're like sweating. You're like, I don't know if the heater's better or the air conditioner is better.
All you know is the speedometer's swinging over and it's not moving quick enough.
Exactly. So when McTaggart gets home, when Wickman gets home, we know that he's going to be like off because he's running in the door.
Well, the question is, does he leave the volume on?
No, oh God, no. Please hang up and go away and then come back later.
I'm going to take everybody with me. We're all in it together.
Chad, you have controls. Don't forget them.
I can go just like... Oh, Jesus Christ, help us all. Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fine episode of Powershift. We're laughing, of course, because, it's what we do. Thank you so much for joining us. But tonight, I'll be honest with you, I was totally confused on my Thursdays, and McTaggart's like, boom, 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 here's my stuff for the show, all these things. I'm like, we're not doing a show tonight. Row.
Yeah, 5 seconds later, yes, we are. Click.
Yeah, so
your other show has content about the articles going in, and this one's going to be about the ones coming out. Is that what
Yeah,
we're talking
exactly.
about?
Well, this is so what's
It's
funny
a
is that
circle of life.
McTaggart sent me. Well, I think it's really entertaining that the subject of tonight's show is, I mean, I titled it crappy cars, but it's shitty cars, okay, that we've all owned or driven or whatever. And McTaggart sent me
A fucking file.
14 photos. 14
Holy
photos.
crap.
Yeah.
I pared it down from what it could have been.
Okay, that's awesome. I am laughing at his definition of some of the crap,
Oh no, just
but I
wait.
want
Now-
I'm like, I'm all in.
Now, what's the definition here? Is this crappy cars, just like junk cars, or cars that were just awkward to drive?
So I interpreted it as either it was a rolling abomination from the start, and I've got a couple of those. It was something that definitely earned the title, even though on the surface it was just fine, and there's a couple of those. I have a couple of my early cars where it was obviously the teenager who bought a $150 pile and tried to do something with it.
Right.
I threw in one very unique little piece from my history that was a good little vehicle, but if you saw it in person, you'd choke. And then there's a couple of just outright hilarious items. And we've got the time, as long as we can keep Chad settled, and as long as Charles doesn't blow up on our video stream, we're good to go. I'll give you all
Look at the look on Charles' face. Charles has
No. No, I'm looking over the mountains.
yeah,
no
sure.
There's no one over there.
He's
Yeah.
looking over the mountains because he's gauging how tall the brush is in case he has to make a run for it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh Jesus.
Oh, I got plenty of places I could dive off along here. I mean,
Don't say that, dude. You
Yes, I don't want to hear it.
Dive off the
Oh
high-
God. So now Crosby's looking for pictures on his phone to send me. Send them in Messenger, remember.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know.
So
all I had was one picture to send.
yeah, I know. It's a good one.
Well, do that while you're on the throne, and we'll get to it.
So I do agree with one of McTaggart's, like, for sure. And yeah.
You're saying
I-
every one of these has a story. I don't know if you know
Oh, I
most.
know.
You know
I
some of these,
agree
but not all.
with two of them for sure. Maybe three actually. But I don't know the stories of the rest, so I'm gonna roll with it. So
Okay.
so we're gonna start with
I was going to say, do you just want to run the gauntlet?
yeah.
and I'll
I'm just gonna run them all through. So we're gonna start with McTaggart's his shovel nose Camaro, which I don't have a problem with this at all.
Okay.
But
I'm so glad.
although this isn't his, this was his girlfriend's at the time. But
No,
but
this is the ex-wife's.
oh, the ex-wife. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
But hold on. So I'm gonna bring all this up here on
Bring it up.
the old
You
screen.
bring the car image first, and then we'll step to the second image next.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the story on this. My ex-wife bought this thing about 2 months before I came back from Iraq in 2008. And on the surface, it's your typical beater late 70s Camaro. It was a 70, I believe it was a 78. No, it was a
I
79.
like that the door went full reverse at one point.
Oh yeah.
It did. That was the least of its troubles.
and that while it is sitting there with the door actually closed, the door still doesn't light
Dude,
up.
it's just a second gen Camaro. You know how that works. Come on now.
Well, no, if you do them right, at least when it's shut, it should be okay.
Yeah. If you,
Hey, and
That looks
and
like-
it's got the second gen Camaro broken door handle too, where it's
Oh,
in
yes.
two pieces that
We're
rips
broke.
half your finger off every time you try to open it.
but
Yes.
they both worked. For the
3/4 door handle and the door like wrapped around.
So
Wow, that was like some really gobbledygook stuff there, Wickman. But okay,
yeah, this was
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
it was a 79. This
Yeah.
is
How do you know she's got a cat?
Yeah.
This was a 250 automatic car, which I have nothing against, except the automatic had, I believe the rear seal was completely screwed because this thing spit the fluid out as fast as I put it in. But this car appeared about a couple weeks before she disappeared when I sent her back to her mother. I always held a grudge against this car. And I've said this, I'm a second-gen Camaro guy, but this is my least favorite form of it. I don't like the rubber bumper cars. I the first shovel nose, the split bumper I'm good with. This, And I would have worked with this, except both hips were Bondo from the door back.
Right.
The other side is not prettier. Chad, if you would please bring up image number 2.
Oh yeah, I'm in love with image number 2. This is a console laying on its side in the back seat of said Camaro.
Okay, so when she told me that she had bought this piece of shit, we drove up from Tacoma to Arlington, Washington, which is about a 2.5-hour drive. Went to some dude's bonfire at 11:30 at night, and then I got the joy of driving this pile of fuck home while she's driving my Regal. It reeks. Like, this was a horrible, let's revive it kind of video gone wrong. This thing smelled like every kind of animal piss you can find in Western Washington in one shot. I don't know what is stapled to that console, and it was stapled. The door for the console was actually just a 2x4. They completely covered over the shifter thing. It had a B&M ratchet shifter in it. Like, I drove this car around. I remember I almost got a ticket on Fort Lewis because they thought I was drunk one night, and I basically showed the cop there was 60 degrees of play in the steering wheel. And it was just like, you know what? I quit. I sold that car for $200, and the kid made fucking payments on it.
Here's the thing that I find entertaining about this car and this photo. The back seat in this car is in remarkably good shape in this photo, right?
Well, nobody can fit in the back of it.
Right,
True.
but the door the side panels look like you put a tiger in the back seat.
Yeah,
and then bought it. I mean, look at this thing.
Every mid-70s GM I've seen that has actually been used, that plastic rots. It's sun rots. It's like Chrysler's tint out. Like, they change color.
Yeah,
And,
that's hilarious.
It looks like it's been dyed from white to
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
whatever's creeping out of Wickham's butt right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the story on that thing.
So the next one, this is my favorite. This may be my favorite vehicle that you have ever bought.
That you're aware of.
When I say that, like your current Charger, I really like that car. I mean, if before the Charger, pre-Charger, this may be my favorite thing you ever purchased.
Okay.
And so here it is.
All right. So the story on this, there's a cheap car racing event in Bowling Green at the Corvette track called King of the Heat. And I wish you had picked the other Camaro first, but that's fine. We'll go back to that.
Yeah.
I jumped in on King of the Heat the second they announced it. I had several cars, and I decided after the first season, no, not that one.
I know. I can't see the order. I can only see the arrows.
I'm having fun. I decided at the end of season 1, I wanted my own car, and I wanted something American because everybody else bought these little front drive piles. So this thing popped up for $600 on Craigslist. I had a couple friends jump in on the deal. That is a 1980 Cadillac Fleetwood Formal. That's a factory-built, non-coach-built limousine. That's the way they came from GM.
Yeah, it's not extended.
No, it is extended. It is extended.
But it's not extended the way they do in a normal. In a normal limo, it's just a 4-door car, and in between the doors, they add more. But in a factory limousine, the door actually puts you out in front of the seat, and the seat is behind the door, and making it easy to step in and get across and then sit down. Not all crappy.
This is a factory limo. It has a partition. It has jump seats. The seats are back behind where the opera light is.
Yes.
It is a big block Cadillac, a 368. TH400, full frame, a D-body, I believe what Caddy calls them. So it's basically a super stretch. It has wheels that were stolen off some sport truck cover truck, after they'd been set out in the woods for 20 years. And I drove that thing home. We went out to somewhere in Bug Tussle, Kentucky, and that is a real fucking place that I can't make up if I tried.
Bug Tussle?
Bug Tussle, Kentucky. So get out your banjos and look out. We get out there. They show us the car, and the guy goes, yeah, y'all didn't bring a battery, right? No, you didn't say a word about a battery. Nobody said anything that this car needed a battery. It is 11:30 at night. I'm in the middle of Yokelville at some dude's trailer. Where am I getting a battery? So the one nice dude, this whole deal, who, he had used the one out of his personal pickup truck to start the car and let us hear it, goes, I'll just get the one out the top kick. Oh, okay. So he comes out with this great big battery, and the battery sits right behind the passenger headlight in a little box. For such a big car, there's not room. This 6'5", 310-pound cord-fed country boy curb stomps the battery into the box perfectly, then breaks apart a pair of shooting earmuffs, cups the terminals, slams the hood, and goes, that'll get you home.
That's
I got
awesome.
that car a year because I bought it at the end of season 1 for season 2. So, Chad, if you want to get that one good image, the mulch image.
Oh, dude, that one's too good. I love it. It makes me happy.
So one of the guys that I was in on this with bounced around dealerships in the Bowling Green area. He gave me a dealer tag. I'm sure that's illegal. I don't care. I use this thing like a truck. So floor to ceiling, partition wall to the back seat, on the back seat, that is stuffed full of mulch. I use this thing as a work tray when I was building the 360 for the Imperial. I hauled my
Maybe you should have used one of those as an air freshener in the Camaro.
Yeah, right?
Well, that's the thing. This thing, until the day I took it to the race, literally, I changed. So these things have one problem, and it was the first problem I ever ran into on this. They don't run worth a shit if the check engine light bulb doesn't work. As soon as I changed that bulb, that thing was dead on daily at good. It was slow as shit. It wouldn't get out of its own way, but it would do 70 miles an hour on the interstate. It tracked well. It drove well. It stopped. I mean, we took a takeoff Charger SRT muffler and just piped it and called it good. And until race day, it was fine. On race day, the alternator crapped out. The power steering line blew. Matt Busby, who ran NCM at the time, kicked us off the track after like 3 laps. And while everybody else,
Why did he kick you out?
Because it was bleeding power steering fluid all over.
Oh, because the fluid. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And King of the Heap, everybody knows most of these cars will piles and leak. That's how bad. Nope, you're leaking too much. We'll work that shit.
Right.
And then it stormed just to put icing on the cake. Everybody else on the team is having a great old time laughing it up. I am boiling. I drop everybody off. They go their separate ways. I float the valves and neutral drop this bitch on the way home, give it a second neutral. Third gear completely called it quits.
Oh, no.
It had flexed hard enough that it was busting out the Bondo line that runs underneath that back quarter window around to the back glass on both sides. I drove it to the junkyard. I kept the wheels and tires, and then I watched them forklift it up, and I watched the car finally break like the Titanic.
Now, do you still have the wheels and tires?
No, I sold those. I sold those to my buddy for Chris for $200 a few years ago.
Oh, okay, because Wickman would buy those right now.
Okay, what's next?
Right now, am I right, Wickman?
That's a face of concentration.
Yeah.
No, I think I can talk now. I'm at a red light.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't you take those
Am I still
wheels off
garbling
that
too?
Cadillac?
No, we hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, hell yeah, I would have.
I know. They'd be great.
I would have been. I even asked McTaggart about him. I was like, what are you going to do with those wheels?
And Chris had basically clipped you by, I think, a couple days.
There you go.
Because he was going to put them on his Suburban, and I have no idea what happened to. He may still have them, for what I know.
Okay, so the next car on your list may be the most boring. I mean, of the cars on your list. You know what I mean?
Well, let's hit it.
So
Okay.
this is the next car on your list.
Okay.
Which is a very nice car. Like, looking at it and all that. You know.
So
Yes, this is that car.
I want to say it was either 2017 or 2018 at the end of the season, towards, when we're starting to do taxes, for bank shift, I tacked up my mileage and I had done like 15,000 miles, most of them on the Angry Grandpa 300, which got about 17 miles per gallon on a good day on the interstate. We had a little bit of spare money. Let's buy an economy car. That was an intelligent thought. Little Chevy Cruze, 6-speed, little compact, look good. We bought it. We got the windows tinted. Don't touch it. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
We even went to the trouble because we bought this used. We heard a gear whine. We put a brand new transaxle on that car to alleviate gear whine, brand new clutch, throw out bearing, the whole 9 yards. And when it worked, it worked. Almost 40 miles per gallon, AC on, me ripping down the highway at 80 miles an hour. 6-speed, shifted great. The car handled great. I fit great. What's not to love?
Yeah, and for those that don't know, McTaggart, what are you, 6'4"?
6'3", about 300.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a little dude. So, so picking a car that is comfy to sit in, you're not going to normally go with a little bitty car, but this is a nice little bitty car, And I say little bitty, it's not that small, but, but it's still small. Yeah.
It's the first 6-speed, the first manual transmission I had since my diplomat. So it had been damn near 10 years since I had a manual transmission vehicle of my own. So I don't care if it is the economy car. That makes perfect sense in my world.
Well, and I mean, Haley really wanted a stick shift car.
I'm waiting for a comment to pop up.
I couldn't even say it with a straight face.
No,
you had to convince your wife that this was okay because she does not like a manual transmission car.
She was fine with it because this was going to be my ever car. Now, I heard about it, but this was supposed to be my economy car. This was the one I always took on road trips. Save fuel money. If that's the trade-off, she could work with it.
Right.
So, where do I start? 1.4 turbo Cruzes are piles of shit. They eat their own PCV valve. They suck oil through the turbo. And I addressed both of those. There's a bank shift thread where I went through and did the modification to build your own PCV system for one of these cars so they don't choke themselves out. And the only way you know this is because there's a little valve in the middle of the inside of the intake, the actual intake manifold. You have to go in, check to see if this little orange nipple is still there. And if it's not, you got to rebuild the whole top end of the car. Great. I do it. Car still acts up. Valve cover, because the PCB.
That's where this brass
that's a rebuild
part goes to, right?
That's the rebuild kit.
Yeah, but where the brass is up here inside the port is where that little nipple should have been, right?
There's a little nipple there. I had to drill that out with a step bit. Put that in, tighten it up. Seal it with plastic sealer, and that worked. That actually worked like a charm. And I thought, okay, problem solved. I'm doing, all that work. You have to replace the valve cover to replace the PCV valve itself, which is the stupidest damn thing I've ever heard of. But I did it, and the car went great. Now, remember what I said about changing the transaxle and the clutch and all that bullshit? Fails in 1 year. And what I learned about this bullshit is that to change the clutch and all of that on a 6-speed 1.4 Cruze, you put a brace on top of the fenders and bolt the engine to that. You then take everything, suspension, transaxle, and all, everything that is not the engine has to come out of the car to do that clutch. All of it failed because the throwout bearing blew, soaked the clutch ate itself to death, and then took the flywheel with it. I don't remember how many thousands of dollars that was to get it fixed. All I remember is I hucked that car off to the nearest sucker for, about what I paid for it, and ran like hell.
Because it wasn't covered under warranty even though the part broke.
There was no warranty.
Yeah.
The fact that the dealership had covered the transaxle when I first bought it was cool of them, and that's what you could have expected. But I sold it to some kid. At one point, I know that car got ditched here in the last 2 years. It is still around. I see it every now and then, but whatever. Don't miss it.
Yeah. Okay, so on to the next one.
Let's date myself here. Okay.
The G-Body Cutlass.
Well, there's actually 3 cars in this picture that are mine.
Oh, okay. Well, there's 4 cars. So there's 2
Right.
Cutlasses. There's a,
Ford
2
Courier.
G-Bodies. I believe they're both Cutlasses. The
Yep.
Ford Courier and a Maverick in the background.
So the green Cutlass with the clip off the gray one is my second car, which puts me at age 13, maybe 14, depending on when I took this picture. That was a 260 V8 with a head gasket issue, but ran. Gray one is just a parts car, so that's number 3, really doesn't count. And the black Maverick behind you is not a Maverick. That is the Comet I've always told you about. That is the violent Ford car. That is a 302, a 4-speed converted to automatic. That thing was fun. I wish I had more. I wish I had a lot more history on that car. But let's go with the Cutlass, the green one. So my first car was actually a 75, 6, or 7 Camaro. I can't tell you because I got the car when I was 12. I could tell you that it looked like the Transformers car painted orange and much more rotted. Same wheels and tires. Loved it to death on sight. It was a 4-speed car, didn't have an engine. I think it was an original 6-cylinder car. Don't care. And in a matter of like 1 or 2 weeks or maybe months, it got crushed. There's a story behind it. I don't want to get into it. That was car number 2. The interior was molded. So a friend of a friend came to clean it out, and everybody got to watch while this happened and was very pleased with this. And then we went to go start the car. We dumped the tank. We checked some things. Everything's good to go. We started, and this thing looks like Old Faithful straight out the tailpipe. You have a steam cloud going straight to the heavens for several hundred feet. And we tore down. We couldn't find a thing. Couldn't figure it out. Put a new head.
So it didn't. I mean, the head gasket was not obviously.
No, it wasn't
destroyed?
that. And we looked for, leaking cylinder, something stupid, couldn't find it. Put a head gasket on it, it quit doing the smoke show, but then it would not, under any circumstance, move forward. It would run, it would idle. You dropped it into gear, you felt the transmission move, the transmission was engaging. The second you went into the throttle, it died. No idea. Fought that car forever. I ended up trading the neighbor who lived in the house with a Comet sitting for a straight 6-cylinder 78 Impala coupe. At least the Impala could make, road speed. It wasn't much better of a trade, but it could drive. And we have lost Wickman. So, let's raise a toast to the bathroom. It's about to get wrecked.
Yeah,
Drop
exactly.
your phone in the toilet.
Yes. Oh no, he's here. He just got on with the computer now. So, yeah.
The laptop.
I thought you said you had to shit.
Yeah.
Already?
Done.
That was fast.
He didn't wash his hands or anything, so.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't take my phone in there.
Okay, so next, this
Oh
is
my
not in the
God.
United States. This is in Iraq or Afghanistan, I'm assuming, right?
Well, it's Iraq. I was only in Iraq.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This is in Mosul. So,
Okay.
I like the FF logo on the tailgate.
So
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So
You know,
for those,
right?
for what little I'm going to explain about my military service, both of my trips over there were to Iraq. Both of them were in zones where even most people even soldiers like, nope, we're good. This was Mosul in 2007, 2008. And this little thing, so it looks like a late 90s Frontier.
Yeah.
That's not what it is. So the best way I can explain this is the bed from an 81 with updated taillights. This is the 4-door cab and interior from what really looks like a hard body, like the dash is older.
Yeah.
The nose clip is Frontier, and the engine is at least early 80s. It's carburetor.
Yeah.
5-speed manual. Can barely get out of its own way. I think those are jump seats from. I honestly don't know what those were. They had military cloth on them, but I don't know anything military that has seats that small.
Right.
That thing was laying dead when we showed up at Mosul. So when you come into when you came into country after like 2005, you met up with a unit who's already there. You spent 2 weeks figuring out what they were doing and getting your own pattern established, and then they screw off and you're left, for the next few months. This thing was set in a corner next to a Kia Bongo minivan and what was left of a BMW 5 Series. We were told these are
I want a Kia Bongo.
No,
I don't know what it looks like, but I want one.
Just say you have a bongo.
Chad, I know you've seen my post. Have you ever seen the picture of the pink painted van that looks like it was painted with house paint?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's the van.
The Kia Bongo. Nice.
Yeah. They're all over the place. Those Mitsubishi Galicas, Mitsubishi Tritons, all sorts of cool shit.
Yeah, the Galicas are cool.
Yeah.
They're cool, actually. They make those in 4-wheel drive, and they're pretty gnarly. Yeah.
They're cool. They're really good.
Yeah.
This
all right, so
thing
continue.
Is shoestring and a prayer. And I'm not kidding you. I don't know what we used for the fan belt. It was not a fan belt. But that little bastard lived for at least 15 months and was our work truck because a Humvee's way too big. Most military units don't have like Cup V's. We don't get pickup trucks. We don't get Blazers. We had this, and we had little John Deere Gators painted up to be, like military Tonka toys that were useless. Absolutely useless piles. We didn't, just garbage. That was our work truck.
Wait, what were they?
It's called it's a John Deere M Gator, M-Gator.
Oh, okay, yeah. So a Gator, but they made it military.
It's a John Deere Gator with a Yanmar diesel engine.
Yeah, they're slower than hell. They're of no use. Yeah.
And they break their own axles after about a year in service. They actually, the whole axle system will bow up like this. I've never seen a vehicle give itself camber before like that.
That's awesome. All right. Sorry. So continue. So you didn't have anything good military wise.
No,
so
it's
this
like,
was your route.
Well, it's like, do you take the Humvee, which is as wide as the actual road around this place, that weighs 7 tons because they up armored it, that drinks fuel, that all these rags, or do you just like throw your toolbox in the bed, leave the windows down, pack some water in, take this thing and just go cruise? I got fuel. I will not explain how because we weren't supposed to get gasoline. We kept tires on it. Again, I'm not explaining how. We kept this thing running because I rebuilt that head about 4 times because it loved to it loved to kick the rockers off of the push rods. But that little bastard held up. And the second we handed it off to another unit, a kid who I went through training with in Virginia took it out and burned it down. New engine completely. He locked it.
So did it pitch the rockers off the push rods because of your fondness for as high as the
No, that was the one thing. So we ended up teaching a bunch of the people in the unit I was with how to do a quick shift on this thing. And our thing was like, let the clutch out slowly. Like, like take 8 seconds to disengage the clutch and let the truck do the work because otherwise you're going to ask way too much of this thing. We don't know when it's going to blow. This thing is on borrowed time. Grim Reaper's following it. We know it.
That is hilarious.
And everybody did. Like the fastest I ever was in that truck was 30 miles an hour. But the scale of the area in Mosul where I was, you didn't need to do anything like 15
50 cal.
Ligon's asking, did a 50 cal ever get mounted on this Nissan Mutt?
Well, in fairness, it carried quite a few of them.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah.
I like the graphics on it.
All of
now,
them.
Here's what
graphics like that.
Here's the thing. So the world has been screwed, and the United States especially, by the crew cab mini truck world. So, like for example, Nissan, right? Here we go. This is a 4-door. It's a crew cab truck, but it's got this wee little bitty bed on it because the chassis under this thing would have been an extended cab with a regular bed if it was in anywhere else in the world, right?
Yep.
Well, and in the United States, we got crew cab S10s with also a little shorty bed, but they were only available in 4-wheel drive. Okay, you couldn't get them as a 2-wheel drive. So, you know, the cool deal was to take one of those 4-wheel drive units, you know, get it so just for the cab and the front end, put it on another chassis, lengthen it, and put a normal short bed on, and it'd be cool. So I look at this thing and think, you know, if you back half this thing and put a 4-link on it, lay it on its balls, and put a regular on it, it's something cool. But yeah, they didn't do that for us. So I don't know. But I will say that my only, I mean, I've had lots of Nissan truck experiences over the years, like, you know, you know, growing up and stuff. My buddy Jimmy had the cleanest 720 grandpa Datsun pickup, right? And it was that like medium blue color with the dark blue interior, extra cab with a shell, really a nice truck. It was the one that had the Z24 dual spark plug 4-banger in it. Like, it was a great truck. And Jimmy is incapable of keeping anything nice because he crashed everything he ever had. And one day he literally was working on the truck, like doing an oil change and rotating the tires in his driveway. And he jacks the thing up and pulls the jack stands out and it down. But one of the jack stands is under the bedside, right behind the rear wheel, and he lowers it down. And exactly. And it just, I mean, it's horrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this thing was, I mean, it was fully loaded, seriously a grandpa truck. It was amazing. Anyway, obviously hard bodies, all those things. But I will tell you that a few years ago, I went to King of the Hammers I wanted to rent a truck to go to King of the Hammers. And I don't know if Crosby, do you remember the little white 4-door Frontier that I rented?
Oh, yeah.
Remember? Okay. So at the time, I was planning on taking the black Suburban, but it got T-boned and was out of commission. So, and it was after
by my neighbor.
I had done all the lift on it and everything. It was ready to go to Hammers. It was going to be awesome. I was all stoked. And so it was dead. So I had nothing to drive there. So I went and rented a Nissan Frontier from Budget and took it out there. Now it was this is in like 2016, I guess, something like that.
15, 16.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And so it was hilarious because it was a rental, and that's clearly the best off-road vehicle there is. And I had GoPros on it and stuff like that. I took it out, across the desert there. And most of the desert is fine. Like, I mean, it's not made for a stock vehicle, but it was okay. But man, I got into some washboard stuff to where the axle and the bed were doing the opposite things. And, and you're going, I'm looking out the driver's side mirror and you can see the bed like out the side of the truck. I mean, it is just all over the place. That thing did not care at all. It literally did not give a shit. When I got it out of, Johnson Valley at the end of, 3 days of doing this.
It was a completely different color when you got back, though.
It was a different color. But when I drove it down the road, I was fully expecting this thing to squeak and rattle and just suck because I had beat the holy hell out of it. It did not. I give it credit. It sucked because it was an automatic, but it was some V6 automatic, whatever. But it did everything I cared about. Like, I mean, for that, you know what I mean? And I mean, I didn't try and go anywhere that I didn't think it was going to get to because I had no ability to get it out or anything else. But still, I was impressed. And I'm not a, Datsun guy, but, it was still cool.
Yep.
Okay, so what's your next one is, hold on.
Uh-oh. I feel it coming.
One is, oh yeah, this thing, God, this is uglier than hell. The next one is my least favorite body style Camaro, actually.
So
wow, I just realized that is actually the truth. This is my least favorite body style Camaro. Early 4th gen Camaro sucks. A later 4th gen with the smoothie nose on it.
It
Cool.
looks like
This
somebody
one,
took them and
ugly.
just stretched them.
I like
I know.
this nose as an SS,
Nope, don't like it.
but it
Don't
has
like
to be.
them.
It has to have the scoop. It has to have those 5-spoke wheels.
Still don't like
Like,
it.
this
You
is
can
one.
sugarcoat that thing any way you want. Those things are still freaking hideous.
Yeah,
Look
but
at
this one is this one's a race car, so it's fine.
Yeah, race car.
I like that it has the tow truck behind it.
I do
There's a
too.
reason.
Well, I believe that and the rock in front of the rear wheel is indication that it's dead.
So
It makes you wonder that if the designer that did the clay modeling took his kid to school, took his kid to work that day, and he goes off, and the kid just kind of like just mushes the nose, it kind of pulls a little bit, and the designer and the bosses come in, they're like, "Let's go with that," and he's just
Well,
kinda like,
I don't think in this picture that it actually needs the tow truck. I think it didn't have enough power to get over the rock.
no, actually, Crosby, it badly needed this tow truck. So here's the story on this one. So this is the cheapest car on this list. This was free.
Wow.
I was given this car.
You paid
So-
too much.
No, I
Yeah,
did
you
not.
still
Not at
paid too
first.
much.
Not at first. So here's the way this works. This is the first King of the Heat. This is the first day, the first race. I have been trying because they had announced it 6 months prior. We're going to do this. We're going to have this big deal. Cheap car racing? Yeah, count me in. I
Right.
couldn't find anybody who wanted to buy a car. I couldn't find a team to join. I was asked out completely. I'm just sitting there like, oh, shit, I guess I'm going to go take photos. All right, this is fun.
Right.
At the last
And this
minute,
was your alternative?
no, this is one of two alternatives. At the last minute, a team said they had a spot. You're going to drive a Crown Vic. Makes sense. I'm fine with that. Let's go. And then at the very, very last minute, Susie Bowder, a friend of ours, texts me and goes, hey, we got a car for you for tomorrow. The other team, they brought two and they can't, so this is yours. Okay.
Okay.
So 5 a.m, I'm at NCM. We're all in this meeting room in the main building. I am not awake by anybody's standard. And I'm sitting there. I've met the team with Crown Vic. It's your typical Crown Vic, nothing special. And then, Wickman, what the hell are you doing?
I'm looking at something.
Okay, we don't need to look either.
I got sidetracked.
Anyways,
Squirrel, disco ball.
yeah. So another mutual friend of ours, Toby Thompson, comes up and goes, basically what they had done is they had hedged their bets and they had brought two cars to the event. This and a mid-90s Cadillac Eldorado. The Eldo was mint. It looked like they just scored it off random used car lot. Perfect. Nothing to it. And because they're running with day and all them, they got their team. They're golden, but one car for one team. Well, if this is going to be an exhibition car, I can run it by myself. And then they tell me it's now my car completely. They just want the brakes
That's
off.
cool.
So the Power Stop deal is legitimate. That's a legit sponsor. The car had brand new Power Stop brakes. All they said was, when we're done and over with this, we want our brakes back. Yeah, cool, free car, whatever. Oh, and this thing has a major engine issue that we don't think is going to live. All right, show me. I want to hear how bad this is. So he goes on. I'm prepared for the worst. He starts it up, and there's like a tiny little lifter tick. Really? That's what you're – okay, give me the key. Because if nothing else, I'll give you your brakes back. I'll go buy some shit from AutoZone. Cheap V8. I don't care whether you like it or not, ugly or not. Cheap V8 Camaro is cheap V8 Camaro. I'm good.
Right.
So –
I'm not arguing with you on that.
right. So
if it was free and it was not, and I would have raced it that day. Absolutely.
Lifter tick? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'll take this. Thank you.
Right.
So on the initial season, King of the Heat was 4 events. First one is basically the length of that garage section drag race. Nothing to it. It's just a time deal from a dead stop. It's a little bit gutless off the line, but it pulls hard. It feels like every other 93, 94 LT1 Camaro I've ever driven. Not making any other noise. It feels healthy. Round 2, is 4 flying laps on the east. I believe that's the east section of the track. This is the section of NCM that has the corkscrew corner that emulates Laguna Seca's corkscrew. It's fast, it's technical, there's plenty to get in trouble with. I go out there, I wring the balls off this thing. It's a little bit twitchy under braking. It has enough power to hang the tail. I'm having a blast. I come off the track and, okay, this engine's definitely hurt. It's, there's a little bit of a knock to it. All right, fair. Oil's warmed up. It's got issues. Okay, you at least were honest about it. Jesus, Barn, really?
Okay, so now that it's hot, it's more than a tick.
Okay.
Has no oil pressure at this point.
No, there is oil. There is pressure. Everything's reading still. It's just there's a little elf in there playing hi-ho, and okay, fair. As I'm waiting for the autocross section behind you, the guy who's running it walks up and goes, look, here's the deal. They want you to run last because they don't want you to grease the track.
Fair point.
All right, fine. So my turn comes up. I go do a very cautious autocross lap because the next event is rallycross. So from where the car's nose is pointed, turn 90 degrees right, and over there they have about 3 acres of nothing but grass and trees, and there's nothing there. We're going to go have a ball. And I want this thing to go play in the dirt. Then, for reasons unbeknownst to anybody, including myself,
noticing the freshly armor-all tires, you didn't make it to that portion of the event.
No, because somewhere between the end of autocross and rallycross, I went, I want one more time. This thing's cooled down. It sat for 3 hours. My first lap and my second lap for autocross were 3 hours apart. I want to hit autocross again.
Yeah.
There is video proof of this. I know Susie Bowder has video proof of this. I'm driving this car up to the starting line. They aren't singing hi-ho. They're doing the fucking Hammerschmidt, like it sounds like the drum section in an opera. Those little bastards are yielding, they're beating the hell out of the timpanis. This isn't knocking anymore. I take off, and as soon as I take off, the pressure builds back up. The knocking goes away. This thing sounds like a Camaro. It's doing its thing.
Perfect. All you gotta do is keep the idle high then. It's fine.
Right, it's fine. I come around a right-hand sweeper. I get on it, and they create a window 3 cylinders wide, and everything, and I mean fucking everything, whatever is solid, chunk, liquid, doesn't matter, comes out the bottom of this bitch, and I have enough thought to go turn towards the grass and let it coast to a stop.
Yeah.
So there was only like a quart of oil on the actual track. So
is that little stripe that's back?
Yes.
Okay, that stripe is from you.
That photo was taken about 20 minutes after the initial, so they've already dusted and swept, and the main pile is probably 25-30 feet off to the left from where this photo is taken.
Yeah.
But this thing dumped. Now, the funny part of this whole deal, I now have a dead Camaro that I have to give the fucking brakes away on. Okay? That's it. I have this. Dude walks up and hands me $100 for what remains. I inform him he has to give the brakes back to Toby. Yeah. He goes, shakes hands with Toby. That's the deal. The next King of the Heap race, this car doesn't reappear, but that door, that fender, that hood, and a couple other pieces do on a convertible.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And the next, so you have to run windows down on King of the Heap?
Yeah.
That window would not come down, so I fucking threw a rock through it.
Oh, my God, that's awesome.
The guy's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, pick up a rock. I'm like, please? Sure. Didn't even wait. Awesome. So that's the way you have a cheap car. That's how you do it. Get it free, make a few bucks off of it, have fun. Apparently, for the next couple of years, that was McTaggart Corner on the autocross.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Okay, I approve of a round body S10. I approve of a round body S10 Blazer. Until
the Cruze happened, this was the biggest steaming turd I've ever owned.
And it's 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive?
2-wheel drive.
Okay,
So,
yeah, the wheels, I think those are the steely stoppers. So yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't have many pictures of this truck, and that's one of the better ones I do have.
And this is from Texas.
Well, this is taken in Southern Illinois, but yes, this was when I was stationed at Fort Hood.
Okay, gotcha.
It's a little DoD sticker in the windshield.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see that too.
So I bought this thing when I was 19.
Right.
Prior to this, I had a 78 LeBaron Coupe, basically a Dodge Diplomat, and it had been a great car. I paid a couple $100 for it, drove it across the country about 10 times, and only had to repair balls on it. Good car. Reasons, again, that I can't explain, that I wish I never had. I decided, okay, the LeBaron's getting old. It's definitely not in the fuel mileage game. I need something that's going to be reliable. I need something that's a little bit more handsome. And hey, that was $8,000 at the time. Nice two-door Blazer. I love the shape of them. They look great. 4.3 automatic two-wheel drive. I thought I was making a smart decision. I owned this thing 17 months. That's it. In 17 months, this bastard had 11 warranty claims, had the throttle stick and put me into a fucking soybean field. They got sugared because some chick thought I was, or some dude thought I was banging his girlfriend. And then he got pissed off because I told him I wouldn't try it if my luck was down. And the breaking point was when both of the front, the spindles cracked. I took this thing in for service, and there was a guy who I knew from racing at Temple Academy, Little River Dragway, whatever they call it this week. He knew me, and he had seen me make a pass in this truck just having fun. And he takes me back, and he's showing me, like, this spindle you could almost take it, break it with your hand. It was bad, really bad. Had electrical issues, had all sorts of crap go wrong with it. I traded that truck off immediately for like a 2001 Ram. And then I saw that thing after my first deployment on some sketchy used car lot in Copperas Cove. I hope that thing's been crushed. Like
That's funny.
That's the truck where you want to take it, gut it, and immediately build it, because nothing that's in there right now is worth it. The only thing I liked about it, that it was that dark blue color, that really cool one. Love that. Very comfortable truck to drive. And it had the 4.3 V6. I love them. Everything else about that pile, I hated.
That's Crosby's truck is a round body S10, extended cab with that same combo in it and everything. That thing runs and drives nice.
Yeah.
When was the last time your taillights quit working for no reason?
Never.
Crosby's wasn't built on a Friday.
Crosby's didn't survive
Apparently not.
for years on it.
Me and Chad went and picked that thing up for $3,000 out of some little shithole car lot out in San Bernardino. Remember?
That's right. I forgot all about that. Actually, I totally forgot that.
The guy goes, the heater core just took a shit, so I'll take $500 off of it. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
That's the way
He just looped it, and I drove it for about 6 months. Shit, I need a heater out here.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, this week's different, but
Right.
Dodging tornadoes.
blizzards, man, blizzards.
So this is the car that I know that you had when I first met you, right?
No. I did own this when we first met. You saw me in the Monte Carlo.
Well, I never saw it, but I saw pictures of it. Is what I mean.
This is the one.
Like on the forums and stuff.
Yeah. So this is an 81 Dodge Mirada CMX. I bought this thing mid-divorce after I'd been told I was getting kicked out of the Army for medical. Not a good time in my life. So I just figured I want a car I can kick the shit out of. And this pops up on Craigslist for $650. It was a school bus driver's daughter. They were going to give it to her as her first car because it had been in the family, and she did the upturned nose thing, and they just went, all right, bitch, walk, and sold me the car. Bought it. I mean, it is what it is. It's rough, but it's fun. I had a pair of Subaru bucket seats in it because the original one broke on me while I was driving through Tacoma. I had set that car on fire at least 4 different times in the engine bay, one of which I almost set myself on fire at the same time. This is the car where the entire punchline Chad has about me and dash gauges just kicks in because the gauges worked, but the backlighting never worked, ever, no matter what I did. It is the only G-Body I've ever seen that has that steel lip spoiler on the trunk. That is held on with 3M tape and has the consistency, and I'm not saying this loosely. I mean this wholeheartedly. I'm not trying to be funny. That thing had the consistency of a jelly sex toy. It jiggled, it wiggled. I threatened to beat somebody with it once. I actually sold the spoiler to a friend of mine when I finally stripped this car down.
That is hilarious.
What does CMX stand for? Crappy Mopar Experiment?
Yeah.
You're not far off, and in all honesty, probably. It was supposed to be the sporty one. It's the one that stuck the diaper on the fucking roof, which was this car's unfortunate downfall. I bought it. It was
Nothing screams sporty like a Landau top.
Yeah, right. I bought it. It had a different set of wheels. These are the ones I had on my Diplomat forever prior to this car. I blew the engine in 2010. It's out of my stepdad's for a year. We put a 323 and worked over 318 into it. And that was the engine that went into the Imperial when this car started rusting and breaking in half in front of the rear axle. I drove it from Washington State to Arizona. This car did many stunts on base and off that I will not ever admit to, even though there's photographic and video proof. It was the beater. I've always called this car the super beater because I didn't give a shit. If it ran and drove, it was fun. All good. Didn't care. If I wanted to take it off dirt, I threw it in the weed. If I wanted to jump this thing, that's happened a few times. The only change I ever really made from this photo forward was I peeled the roof, which was a bad mistake. And I had the springs re-arched when I got to Arizona to give it that 70s disco stance. And that's when we learned that the car was breaking apart. Otherwise, I probably would have kept it and just kept going with it because, frankly, it was fun as hell. So
this thing had what engine in it? A 318?
Original, when I first bought it, had the stock 318 in it.
Yeah.
I grenaded that badly, like chunks in the oil pan badly from what I was told. Then I paid a guy in Washington State to build a 323. So it was a 318 that had been worked over a bit.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So bored out 318. Gotcha.
When I picked that car up, I picked it up in 2012 when I went to work at Boeing for the summer, and it romped. It was miles above where it was. But the guy who built it screwed up the PCV system so badly that it was eating its own oil. When I finally took that engine apart, there was about 1/8 of an inch of cooked oil on top of every piston, and it had coated.
Yuck.
So.
Okay, so why do you have a Ford Aerostar on your list?
Okay,
I mean,
you were in the forums.
Are you the
square
epitome
body-
of bad choices, or
You
what?
were in the forums. You should know this story.
Look at this. So you got the square body Chevy is great in the background. The S10 is the Bronco 2 is crap, and so is the Ford Aerostar.
Okay.
I do appreciate the like
Note the
lumber.
2x4s and the gas can.
The gas can.
Was that kindling and fuel or what?
Yes, exactly. That's how you burn it to the ground.
This is comedy. So here's how this works. Please go back to the whole shop for a minute. So the way this works, I get out of the military June 2010, and just for something to do while I'm figuring out what I'm going to do next, I started working at a coffee shop in Parkland, Washington. It's about a block away from the Suburban group that I was hanging around with. Cheap money.
That's a nice transition.
Well, it's something to do. It's basically like 2 blocks from my house. I get free food, free drinks, hang around with some cool people, and just basically screw off and get paid for it. I'm good. The owner was really cool. We'd known each other for a few years ever since I'd moved to Washington State. Been cool with everybody we knew. One night she tells me that a vehicle that had been stolen from her was being returned to her that week. She didn't want it. I could just have it. That's the vehicle. 94 Aerostar Eddie Bauer. 4-liter V6, automatic, overdrive. Whatever. It's not my cup of tea. If it runs, fine. If it doesn't, whatever. I'm not that bothered.
The cookies are in that bag.
It shows up, and on the outside, I mean, it's not great, but it's not horrific. Then she found the keys, and we opened the door, and the people who had stolen it had spray painted the windows, and a bunch of the shit that was stolen that was never claimed was still inside.
Spray painted the windows from the inside, so it was like they were tinted?
Yeah, completely blacked out from the front
Okay.
back. They're all just spray painted black. We backed the thing up to a dumpster and shoveled it clean. Couldn't figure out why this thing ran like absolute ass. This thing was the worst running anything I've ever had my hands in.
It's an Aerostar.
Yeah.
It's a
This is
Ford 4-liter. I mean,
3-liter.
you have to do something to screw them up.
Right.
So
Okay.
about the same time, there was a gentleman who lived across from me. Wife was going through cancer treatments. He had a pretty badass lifted like early 90s Ranger, and he had sold it to pay for some of her treatments. Now, I probably should feel bad for this, but I'm looking at this going, okay, the dude just sold his fucking fishing truck. Let's clean this bitch up. Let's just give it to him. Make it run, make it pass emissions, get it legal.
Yeah.
Give it to him. I don't care. And no sweat off my sack. I'm just, here you go. All right. Here's all you really need to know about how the restoration process of this pile of shit works.
Restoration. I love that.
We did plugs. We did the coil packs. This thing started to idle fine. We took it out for a test drive. We almost got flattened by a Kenworth dump truck because this thing stalled out in the middle of an intersection. We get back. We realize the catalytic converter is glowing bad.
Oh, yeah, that'll make it not run good.
While we're trying to figure out the catalytic converter, we also know that the power steering is seizing up. So, okay, we'll just put a power steering pump on it. We'll go chop, a section off of a van in the yard in 2 weeks' time and put it in. It'll pass emissions. It was close as it was. Like we had taken it. It's Pierce County, Washington. You have to smog it. So it was close, but it was failing just because of the cat. We're close. Let's just finish this up and get it going. The night I pulled the power steering pump is the night I found out the power steering pump was full of human piss. I'm not making that up. I don't know how. I don't know why. I wanted that answer. We are we're almost 15 years later. I still want the answer why that was a thing.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us here on this edition of Power Shift. Wow. I knew McTaggart's list of vehicles would be entertaining, but this is a whole other level of stuff going on.
Hold on, there's one more.
Keep it going. It's all you, brother. Keep it going.
Here's the coup de grace on this one, okay?
The coup de
We
grace.
do the cat. We changed the cat. I get the power steering pump fixed. It's not great. It runs. We had a date for emissions testing, and it was the next week. I went out with a bunch of friends to the Oregon Trails rally for that weekend. Get back. Don't know where the van is. Can't find it. It's not parked at the coffee place. I didn't take the damn thing home. Call the other guy. Did you move it? No, I didn't. Comes to find out, the new kid at the coffee shop, a couple people just walked in and said, "Hey, is that van outside for sale?" The kid didn't have an answer. They put it on a trailer and hauled it. The van got fucking stolen again.
No.
A couple tweakers took it. Just put it on a flatbed, hauled it off.
Hey.
I get a message from the shop owner on the way. It's like, "Where's the van?" I don't know. Start calling people, scroll up. Nope, there's no van.
No crap.
Kid tells me he does this. I walk outside and I put a good 3-inch fist dent in the roof of his Maxima and quit.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
That's
awesome. The story of the pedo van. And there's a full bang shift thread on this piece of shit.
That's awesome. Okay, this is our last one on your list.
Okay.
And I will tell you that this is the car of yours that I hated the most. Not because of the car, this car is perfectly fine. It's not my style, but it's perfectly fine. But the reason that this car is my least favorite of your cars is because of the amount of work and heartache and stress that this one caused you over the years. Because this car is and everybody's had one of these. This car hated McTaggart No, not this exact car, but everybody's had a car like this where regardless of how much you love it and try and do good by it, it just wants to stick it in your hand. Like that's how this car was every single time.
So when the Mirada broke apart, we realized the Mirada physically was done.
Here is it. First off, what is this thing?
Okay, so what you're looking at is an '83 Imperial. So this is
Imperial. There you go.
So I really don't want to get into the story. Basically, Lee Iacocca wanted a luxury coupe to compete with Cadillac, and he went on the Mirada second gen.
Spot on.
Nailed it.
That's what it was.
You know what it looks like? This car to me always reminded me of the Lincoln Mark V or whatever it was.
Yeah, Mark V.
Yeah, which was a great Fox body, by the way. But this looks like the one that, like, you squint real hard and it kind of looks like a Mark V, but really it was drawn with a crayon, so all the lines are too big or something. I don't know.
Well, no, they both were designed by Iacocca, and it's a joke I always tell. Iacocca cars, you can pick them out. Same chrome waterfall grille, same hidden headlight treatment. I'm seriously amazed they didn't put a fucking vinyl roof on this thing. All of his dashes look alike. You can pick out an Iacocca car by a mile away. Ford, Chrysler, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's a K car on steroids.
Do you actually have to wear a polyester suit while you're driving that?
Yes.
What?
Do you actually have to wear a polyester suit all the time you drive that thing, or what?
No, but if it'll get your mom in the car, I'll do it. Anyways, so when the Mirada starts breaking in half and it's obvious that car is done, like, I can't save it. Nobody can save it. I went on a hunt for a body to put the running gear into. That was sitting in a horse field in Wickenburg, Arizona. Weird situation, but the body was solid. We put a battery in it when we just went to check it. Still had the EFI on the original 318, and it was still clicking. All the relays functioned. It sounded like it wanted to go. Loaded on a trailer, drag it up to my place in Prescott. We put the cars side by side, and I called up a few friends of ours, Alex from Phoenix. I had several people there. We just got to work on this thing. Everything that was in the Mirada that was good went into the Imperial. I drove that thing through Arizona, mostly with no problem. There was a small incident early on with the steering. Once that was fixed, I drove this car everywhere. Loved it. Drove it across the country. If there is a 20-second spot in one roadkill episode from like 2014, this car's in it. That is the car. And that was where a wire shook out of the main harness, and we just basically bent the tab and put it back in, and it fired right up. We land in Kentucky. 2 days later, the headlight switch nukes itself, which is not uncommon on any of these cars. Replace it. I drive it for another year, no problem. In November of 2014, it's obvious the engine's wounded. Pull it down, tear it out. That's when I learned that the guy who built that engine, really, I want my money back. I still do. And I started putting together plans. Initially, I was going to big block swap this car. Went out, bought a 400 blocks from some guy in Indiana. Took it home. I had to bash the pistons out with an iron rod. Took it up to Canarium Racing in Louisville to have them check the block. Realized that not only did you fuck up the block, but the block's unusable anyways. Shit can that idea. The car sits for months.
Beating the pistons out of it wasn't the first clue, McTaggart?
Would you like the garden slug on the piston? Number one had a fucking garden slug in it, but when I opened it up. Oh my God. I don't know how. Do not know how. I have the pictures. Garden slug on number one. It's floating in the transmission fluid and Marvel mystery oil and diesel fuel and everything else I poured into this bitch.
That's
whatever. The block becomes an 8-spot flower planter. A couple years later, Eric Rude, the guy who does not King of the Heap, the 24 Hours of Lemons, the judge, he gets in touch with me. He has a 360 that he was building for a 24 Hours of Lemons car. He's quit the project. He will drive down and bring me the engine. No problem. Delivers me a 360 yanked from a 78 Magnum. All you got to do is go through it. And I do. That was my first engine I ever built. Chad hooks me up, gets everything together. We do parts, put it together. First fire, this thing screams. That engine was great. And that's when the transmission decided that third gear was an option. I took that fucking transmission apart at least 3 different times myself, and then handed it off to an 82-year-old guru that lives, we're out in farm country, Kentucky. This is the guy for like half the state. He rebuilds it. We finally get 3 gears out of it, and I immediately put this bitch up for sale. I sell it to a guy who collects movie cars. Initially, he was going to strip this for a different one. Then somebody tells him, hey, this is the car from Roadkill. He gets starry-eyed, shows up with money in a car trailer. Drives it on the trailer.
Yeah, and it was in the show for what, like you said, all of a minute, right?
No, 20 seconds at best.
Okay, there you go.
Right? He takes his car. He runs like hell. Good for you. He takes it to his home. He swaps the entire interior out from red to gray. Gets it running like the demons. He sends me a video. This thing is screaming. Good for you. Thank you. I'm glad to see somebody loves this car.
Right.
I get a text from him a couple weeks later. The 360 exploded bad enough that it put several holes through the Milodon oil pan. And he has moved it on since to a buyer in Maryland, I believe, who also saw Roadkill and is trying to make this gray Christine run one more time. Good luck, sucker. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, and the sad part about that is obviously, I don't know what the heck happened, but that motor was right.
Actually, the funny part, I forgot about this. Wickham's been in that car when it ran and drove.
Yep.
The first event I ever worked for Bang Ship, the first one I ever shot, Hot Rod Reunion 14.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not just saying this car. I have a witness. This car actually ran, drove, and did. It wasn't everybody's.
We took it to the donut shop, then we took it to the track.
Mm-hmm. And then I fell off the fence onto the corner next to the headlight over there, and I laid on the track for the next 4 hours screaming in agony.
That's funny.
Yeah, and they had to have Wickman drive me home.
Now that we've had the full McTaggart version of Powershift,
dude, I have to tell you that if
none of us had to put any input into this whatsoever.
Dude,
and here's the funny part about it, though.
When he said we're going to talk about our shitty cars, you didn't hear me cackle? I knew what I was doing. I was waiting for this one.
Okay, so
I'm not complaining.
Hold on, I'm going to laugh at a couple of comments that are on the screen. So you said a small incident, and Haley goes, small incident. Right. It tried to kill us. Okay.
All right. Here's the call out.
Then Liggett saying, after hearing McTee's list, never buy a car from him ever. I don't know, because honestly, he does all the work and then sells them. So I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, Wickham's just jealous because he doesn't have all these nice cars.
No, he just has a bunch of Chevy trucks painted up like Volkswagen Harlequins.
Listen, so Neil Sabo says, I'd sell him one. And Haley goes, no, you won't, Neil. We are currently at our 4-vehicle limit.
So me and Haley have an agreement, 4 vehicles. One Haley, one
4 vehicles each. Perfect.
You're the man. No, we have our one driver and our one project. Except technically she has one driver and I've got one driver and 2 projects.
There you go.
I'm waiting for that door to open.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm counting. It's all right. Never mind. Keep my mouth. So,
bong.
Okay, so here's the funny part about all this. So Wickman sent me. So while your list is entertaining, okay, Wickman's list, and when I say list, I mean the car that Wickman sent. I've already seen it, and I am going to say with zero hesitation that every single person who is watching and who is on the show would agree with me that if they got to choose any of your cars, versus this car right here, they would jump up and go, please let me ride in it. Okay. Because while it has 4 doors, okay, I believe the door handles are shaved on it though. But it has 4 doors. However, none of them are required in order to ride in it because it's a G-Body Malibu station wagon with the top chopped off of it. Yes.
How is this the first time I've seen this car? Of all
It's
the,
so
all the
awesome.
years I've known you, how is this the first time I've seen this
And look
car?
at Crosby is like,
Like Crosby's
I wanna
like,
hate
wow,
it.
he's like, fuck this.
I want to
I'm
not
done.
like it.
I'm
I
done.
want to not like it, but I'd get in it and go to lunch. Yeah.
That has a negative camber mini truck run written all over it.
Doesn't it? Yes.
That was
Okay.
a negative camber vehicle. Yes.
Are you
So-
using Oldsmobile hubcaps as Dayton's?
Yes.
So tell us the story there, Wickman.
This was in Dickinson, Texas, south of Houston. A good friend of ours we call B-Row. He was like the cool uncle, the big brother. I mean, he was 10, 15 years older than us. Already built like a handful of great cars. Member of the Continentals, has got a sweet ass 59 Cadillac. And he came across this car through a friend that he bought for $350, I think. But it had bad freeze plugs. It had the 3.8 NA Buick in it.
Take my money. That thing is rad. I'm in love. Right? If you squint, it's mint. Right?
So,
right? This is like awesome. I think that's all compliments right there.
the wagon was completely stock when we got it. Basically, Bill's like, hey, just give me the 350. You guys can have it. So we all chipped in, bought this car. We take it to the shop, and we're just kind of like,
For how much?
$350.
And
Running
you had to
drive.
get people to chip in on that?
We were all in our 20s. Come on.
Well, McTaggart sold a car on payments for $200.
That's true. He did. Well, and see, if they had bought this from McTaggart, then Wickman wouldn't have had to take pay or wouldn't have had to get buddies in because he'd have been able to make payments.
So we were trying to figure out what to do with it. And I think at night we'd been drinking at the shop. It was way early in the morning.
Barbecue pit, rotisserie, something like
No,
that.
it was just like hanging out, like drinking after working all day, and it was late at night.
No, really.
Yes. Look at
You
that.
stole my heart.
That's the greatest part. Brad, we all chipped in.
I would have never guessed there was drinking involved in this.
Gallery. Come on. Hashtag crowdfunding.
The worst part is, this is probably one of the nicest painted vehicles he's ever owned.
Wait till you find out who
Who
painted
called
it.
it the John Deere Green?
Oh my
Wait till you
God.
find out who painted it.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll be quiet. You tell the story.
I can't guarantee that.
Originally, it was just supposed to be a target top. We were going to we did a target top. Then we decided to do dual target tops. Then the piece in the middle was too flimsy. So basically, we cut it out, but we still had the roof over the cargo area, and like it didn't look right. So basically, we just ended up hacking them all.
You think? You think?
Okay. So nothing. Yes.
You know what the saddest part about this whole thing is? That this is a prime example of why we're friends.
Okay. You can see
Because I would own this car.
the car.
I would buy this car today if you found it for me.
You notice the car does have shaved door handles.
I do.
Mhm.
That's why I said.
Okay. But nothing was.
Well, obviously for anti-theft.
It's all Bondo.
No,
We just
I would have never guessed that.
okay. The wood grain on the side, contact paper from Walmart.
Oh,
I already guessed that.
It's not factory. Whole.
that's so good.
Okay, the green.
Why didn't you shave the gas door? That's my question.
Yeah,
You still got to put gas in it. I don't know.
you rookie. Okay, so the green anyway. Jesus Christ, help us.
The green, basically, it was like the car was started out was like dark gray. We scuffed it down and shot, I think, like silver spray paint over it. Ryan, aka Ghetto Ryan from Counts Customs, that does all the airbrushing and custom painting. We bought some candy green, and back when Ryan was running Chaotic, his signature was $100 bill cut out with Chaotic. So the 3 or 4 of us that were
I remember that actually. Every car that, or every mini truck that he painted back then. That was when, wasn't Chaotic in Bakersfield at the time?
No, that was Air Syndicate.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was Air Syndicate. They were badass too. Dude, Air Syndicate did killer shit. Is that guy still around? Sorry, I digress.
Yeah, they are.
So Ryan's like, I've got like this extra green from doing a job. That's like, we'll paint the candy green over the silver. Or like, okay,
Over the spray paint?
Yeah.
And
Look at McTaggart.
A certain part of his soul die over the spray paint. Oh God!
So we were joking around. And it's like, well, we need to put $100 bill in it. Like, well, we're not spending $100 like in material. It's like we don't have that in the whole car. So the 3 or 4 of us that were there, we pulled out a stack of $1 bills. So there's actually 13 $1 bills in the clear or in the candy on that car.
Nice round number.
The size, the tailgate.
Jason Hall says he remembers it.
Oh my God, that is absolutely horrible.
We cut the front springs. We completely removed the rear springs. It was sitting on bump stops in the rear.
That must have been a charming ride getting smashed.
Yes, Jason Hall said before you said it had cut up dollar bills in the paint.
Yep. Then someone on the north side of Houston.
Don't open the door.
So someone on the north side wanted this car, and they're like, "All right,
north side of Houston."
Yeah, which
How
was
black was that guy?
No, it was actually a white guy that owned a body shop.
Jason Hall says Ghetto Bob put some extra pubes in the paint too.
There probably is. Again,
that thing with some of them Houston ankle killers hanging out the side of it, that'd be perfect.
Oh my God.
So we're basically going to drive the car up to the north side of Houston after having just fun around town with the thing. And it's like, all right, we just get rid of it. And someone was actually going to pay money for it. And I got elected to drive the car from the south side of Houston to the north side of Houston, which was like almost an hour and a half at the time. So I'm driving this thing on a Saturday afternoon. It's like 90 degrees, probably like 92% humidity. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to work on my tan. So I pull off my shirt and driving this thing through Houston traffic. The cameras, I mean, this thing would have been all over social media if cell phones were around then. It just would have been like TikTok after TikTok after TikTok. And I remember these two brothers, like in a Tahoe or Suburban or something, pull up next to me in downtown on 45, and they're just this look of like completely like astonishment, like there's this white boy driving this candy green wagon with no roof through Houston wearing no shirt.
Grand Theft Auto.
Exactly.
All right, something I gotta ask for this right now. Was it the vinyl interior, or was that Oldsmobile like really like fluffy couch cushion material?
Yeah, it
well,
was that.
in this picture, it has no back seat in it.
Yeah,
He's in the front seat driving this bitch.
it was gray cloth.
Okay, I got a visual for you. Wickham driving this thing, Chad in the passenger seat, me in the back seat, and McTaggart standing in the back with a 50 cal on a stand.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta tell you, if you wouldn't get arrested for it, I would be sitting sideways across the back with my arm hanging out and a beer in my hand. I mean, that's where this goes. Like,
I have been wanting to recreate this car. There are other people that have been wanting to recreate this car.
In the back with the wheel with both fingers in the air in traffic. That's what I need.
I mean, we've been trying to find like a cheap G-Body wagon to actually recreate this, but like do it half-ass right.
Oh, this thing's half-ass, right?
Half-ass.
No,
Totally
this isn't half. That's what percentage of ass is this? Because this is a 1/10 of 1% ass. That's what the Jesus.
Now, you know what this thing needs?
Painted.
Cut the whole top off it, including the windshield, and then just like some of those MG little 1 foot wide.
Oh, no.
No.
Know what it needs? No, it needs the actual, I'm talking not one like it, but an actual wraparound windshield from a boat.
Yes, Scott Liggett.
No.
All
One
the
up.
way down the front door.
One up. Let's do a Duval windshield on it.
That would be a really bad way to do it.
I mean, just one of those kind of cars you just want to take the good guys and just piss off everybody.
Oh my god!
How do you think that would happen? I don't understand why they would be upset about that at all. It fits the criteria.
If they're having a heart attack.
If you put 23 6x9s in the cargo area, yeah, I'm sure it would piss off a couple people.
Oh my god, that's so awesome.
Oh
okay,
my god!
What's funny is that the photos that Crosby sent for his.
Well, there's a reason why I've sent those too.
I know. So do you want me to put them up and you explain?
You can
put
the
not
put
fit
the
in with what we're talking about.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I put them up pure for because remember both the people that own these are like a foot taller than me.
Yes. Okay.
So
exactly. So that's
put the red one up. Put the red one up first.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that was kind of what I thought was the reason. So, because I remember you driving the green one, and I remember the comment afterwards. So, hold on here.
Oh, the comment from Mike Cunningham about the door in the middle section of the windshield opening. Yeah, that would be.
Okay, so
you have to zoom in on the dash.
Okay. So this truck is, if you're not familiar with this truck, the truck is named Hellboy, and
it's probably by far one of the funnest things I've ever driven in my life.
Oh, it's badass. If you look at this thing, it's unibodied. As far as the bed is welded to the cab, it's all shortened and stuff too. The wheel wells in the front are moved, and the rear are moved up, so this thing can sit lower. It's LS powered. It's tube chassised. It's badass, and it's owned by Rob McGregor, who owns No Limit Engineering, and he built this thing, and it destroyed the truck class at Good Guys
everywhere
and Optima and everywhere else, because he showed up with a truck and was beating people. There's some really cool features to this thing that you might not notice at first, but like this door frame here is attached to the roof, not to the door. So the gap is actually here. So the door opens and has no window frame. It's genius. And awesome. There's all kinds of greatness to this thing. It's super fun. But
as I said, Rob is about a foot taller than me.
Legit.
So you can imagine my seating position in this. I'm basically looking in between the steering wheel, and if you notice the two little bubbles on the dash, I get in the truck and I am laughing my ass off. And Rob goes, "What are you laughing about?" I go, "It looks like I'm looking through a couple of boobs."
It was so funny. Oh my God, we were dying.
And I think this picture is actually from one of those events this is at Adams
Yeah.
down at Riverside.
That's Riverside. Yeah.
This is a go-kart track.
And this is old, like Valerie said, old pick. It is, because this is when it first got built, Valerie. This is in the first few months that it was built, right here. Because the very first time it came out in public and drove under its own power and all that stuff was at a Good Car. And me and Marcel and a couple other dudes all thrashed on this thing all night. And then me and Rob hauled it down there. And it was
this thing is a freaking go-kart. It is amazing. If you ever get the opportunity, I suggest you drive it.
Yeah, it's badass. It is a riot for sure.
Now the next one is a complete opposite of this vehicle. Another guy that's 7 feet tall.
Yeah, but what's funny is that this dude actually is maybe even taller than Rob, actually.
He is.
And this guy, everybody knows him. Like, if you know Tap Out, then you know him. It's Scrape, who owns Tap Out, like clothing and all that.
And Black Widow.
Now also owns Black Widow Exhaust. But, like, if you've ever seen Scrape, like any pictures of him and stuff, he wears a big giant afro and stuff. Well, it's a wig. It's not really his hair. But Scrape is like one of the nicest dudes. Like, the guy is super cool, super chill, really funny. And when they decided to build this wagon, like, he went all in. And
this car has the absolute worst. I don't know how he drives it at all. It has the worst seating position I've ever seen in my life. I had my knees touching the steering wheel. So I don't even know how he got in the thing to start with. The steering wheel is here. My knees are touching the bottom of the steering wheel, and I can't even explain how bad this car is. It doesn't do anything nice at all. It lifts.
Does he still have this thing?
I believe so.
Yeah.
It will lift the front tire off.
Fast in it.
Yeah. And I actually got it to go around the track pretty quick, but it makes no sense whatsoever because it just does not do anything good. But notice it's still got a roof on it and door handles.
Yes, it does. And Valerie says he does still have it. Yep. Yeah, this thing's hilarious. So I didn't get pictures of anything for this.
But I don't have a picture of this particular vehicle I want to talk about. Yeah. But it was a 74 Love pickup. Oh. And it had a 230 with a 231 odd fire V6 in it.
Oh, yeah, the Buick V6. Yeah.
It had Jeep axles in it.
Yeah, that's a 3.8 liter, but they made a 3.8 liter odd fire and a regular. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, a friend of mine had this thing, and they decided to lift it a little bit more and put it on, I think, 33s. It was on, like, 31s or something. And promptly takes it over into a strawberry patch and rolls it. So destroys the cab. So he buys another cab, and these geniuses can't figure out how to get the cab on it. So he goes, "You want this thing? I'll sell it to you. $500. I have another cab." And I trade him some other stuff, and he brings everything over, and I'm sitting there thinking about how to get this cab on this thing. I don't have a forklift. So they get there with it. They drop the chassis off first. All they have is a tow dolly. So they bring the cab over on it, or the chassis over on this tow dolly, and then slide this cab up onto it, bring it over, and I promptly bring out my cherry picker, and they go, "That won't lift it high enough." I go, "Yeah, it will." So I take the door off, I put a bar through the tunnel where the shifter comes out, lift it up, slide the cab back onto it, and he goes, I'll buy it back right now. And I'm like, no, I want to put it together and drive it. So I put this thing together and drive it. I had it for about a week, and I had it all run in and everything. Drive it around the corner. You know where this A&W used to be over on Holt, close
Oh,
to
yeah,
my
yeah.
shop.
Yep.
I drove it to A&W and back and called him up and said, hey, do you want this piece of shit back or what? He goes, oh, yeah. He actually traded me my GTO Judge back for that thing. That's how
No.
I got my Judge back.
Jesus.
Wow.
The reason why I didn't want this thing, they lifted it. They cut and turned the axles, all neat and cool. But they just cut and turned the perches. So when it
Oh,
turned, the tires turned under.
yes.
Hence the reason why it rolled in the first place. And I didn't fix it.
Yeah. Oh my
Like,
God,
have it
that's
back,
awesome.
have fun, share it with your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the worst vehicle I ever drove. And it was
That's
only about a block and a half.
I love that. Well, it's funny because okay, so I've bought one car from a dealership in my entire life. I've never bought a brand new car in my entire life. I ordered a new dually once and then didn't end up taking it because it was delayed and a bunch of stuff. That was a jillion years ago. So I've only owned old stuff always because that's just me. But and I've bought a handful of like nice, used cars. Like the white Suburban was by far the nicest thing I've ever owned, as far as just being the cleanest like thing.
That's great.
And I loved it, and I hate that it got crashed and then stolen and stuff after I
Yeah.
got rid of it. But anyway, otherwise, I've owned a
Ironically,
bunch of,
one of the best ones was the other Suburban, the $200 Harley.
oh yeah. I mean, that thing was so the $200 hauler, which actually, McTaggart, can you find a picture of that thing real quick?
On it.
It's on Bang Shift. So the $200 hauler is funny story. So my mom and dad lived here in Texas. I was living in Southern California. My dad says, hey, the next door neighbors who I knew, they have this Suburban. It's been sitting for a few years. And this is like in 2000, like 12 or 13 or something like that, 14. And it had been sitting when gas prices had gotten expensive. So it just sat. And it was a 3/4 ton Suburban. Dad goes to look at it and sees if they want to sell it. And it's a 6-liter 4L80E 2-wheel drive 3/4 ton Suburban. It's been sitting in the Texas heat for years. And it sat in the Texas heat. They literally parked it with everything in it and then left. And all they ever did was like stuck more crap in it, because they didn't want to put it in the garage, whatever. So this thing was pretty nasty inside. Okay. It had a car seat that was strapped in it that had been like milk and stuff had spilled under it, and it sat for years. Right. So anyway, we, dad talks to the neighbor. The neighbor's like, oh, you can have it. Right. Well, make a long story short, there's some reasons for not just giving it to him because of taxes and crap in Texas, which they make everything more difficult here. So dad paid $200 for it. So all he cared about was he's going to bring it home, pull the 6-liter and the 4L80 out of it and send it on its way. But the thing actually ran pretty good. It had a little lifter tick in it, but otherwise it ran pretty good. It had 150,000 miles on it or 175,000 miles on it or something like that. So he takes the thing and he decides, I don't know, this thing might be too good. It's rough, but it's not that rough, right? It had been hit in the rear corner just slightly and a little bit of stuff. So anyway, he asks me, would you want this thing as a tow rig? Because I had no truck at the time. And I said, yeah, I guess so. So Dad takes the entire interior out of this thing, including the carpet, pressure washes the carpet in the driveway. It actually comes out okay, puts it all back in, does it up. And then I have a layover in Dallas on a trip home. I get off the plane and don't get back on the next flight to get to California. And I visit with Mom and Dad, stay the night. Here's the $200 hauler. And I get in it and drive it to California. Dad hadn't driven it more than like 10 miles, right? It had,
Of course not.
It had flat spotted tires that were horrible. If you went 80, it was fine. So yeah, I had that thing for a long time. We wrapped it. I put lift spindles on it, wheels and tires. It had a stereo in it. It got stolen one time and recovered. It got broken into again, and the second stereo system stolen out of it again. And then it got T-boned, and I parted it out and totaled it. We put LED lights on. We did a bunch of content with it and stuff. It was cool, And
You still got the trans though, don't you? Isn't that the one?
Oh yeah. So the best part was the transmission. Yeah, the 4L85E out of it got built and is behind the small block in Daphne's car. It's had over 1,000 horsepower to the tire go through it, and then the engine had 278,000 miles on it when it got T-boned.
You've got both images in there, Chad.
Where are they? Oh, in the private chat?
In the Dropbox.
Oh, in the Dropbox. Okay, gotcha. They so it had the 6-liter had 278,000 miles on it, and
loving carefree miles.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I took the engine out of it, and I was going to keep it. It was a 2000 model Suburban, so it had an iron-headed 6-liter in it, and it was funny because we were going to build the 6-liter into something cool or what have you.
I sent you Brett's favorite picture in Messenger.
Oh yes, okay, I'll show that one. So it had, when you look at this thing, it looked great back in the day. At one point when I first got it.
When the dually was taking the shit up there at Pleasanton, you drug the trailer all the way home with it.
That's true. So it was, it had 278,000 miles on it. Richard Holdner said, "Hey, I'm doing a stock bottom end, junkyard 6-liter Big Bang." And so Richard, I gave him the 6-liter. He pulled the heads off of it, put good heads on it, put an intake and twins, and that thing made 1,438 horsepower with the original rings and bearings in it. The rings were removed and gap added and put back in. It made over 1,400 horsepower. So, hey, it was great. Then is the other photo like after we did stuff to it? Yeah. Okay. No. This is the after it was crashed. Yeah. After it was crashed version. And so what's funny about this one is the thing had a big dent in the side of it. In the previous photo, you didn't get to see this side. It had a big dent in it up here, and it had been repaired like this, but it had never been painted. So I was going to paint the thing, and then we're like, oh, we'll wrap it or whatever. Well, again, I lifted it. We did a bunch of stuff to it, and it got T-boned here. And actually, the rear end and the thing was okay. It sheared the pin. It sheared part of the pin off the button head on the top of it, off of the leaf spring, and screwed up the perch. Otherwise, I could have pulled the rear end over in place and just bolted it on and drove it. But sold all the interior out of it, sold the add-on mirrors I put on, all the LED lights, the cold air kit. The lift spindles that were on the front of it are like unobtainium, and I found them and put them on there, and it was great. And then a dude wanted to buy them, and I told him, you can buy them, but I need your stock spindles so I can put them on this thing so it'll still roll. He came over to my house, and I told him, I said, I'll give you the tools if you want to do the swap right here. And he swapped my spindles out onto his truck and then put them back on here.
We were doing that on a live stream.
Yes, it was awesome.
Because you had this dude over in the corner just whacking away on his truck, breaking his spindles loose. Meanwhile, Chad's over here like a flea market salesman with a camcorder in his hands, like, $50? Yeah, sure, here.
Oh, it was awesome.
Got piecemealed out by the afternoon. I think it was done.
Oh yeah, dude, this thing got just parts and parts and parts. The front bumper off of it. The best deal on this whole thing, when it was all said and done, it had nothing. It just was a roller, right? It had a steering wheel in it, and it had the wheels and tires on it still. And I called a wrecking yard that I knew guys at and said, hey, come get this thing. I want the engine and trans out of it and the wheels and tires, but you can have everything else. And because it still had all the body panels on. And they said, okay. So literally they came and picked it up. They called me a week later, and I came back, and they gave me the engine and transmission and all 4 wheels and tires. I didn't have to lift a finger to pull any of the stuff out. It was epic. It was way too good a deal. Like, it was awesome.
So are you going to put my picture up now?
Yeah, this thing.
Okay, hold on before you put it up.
Yeah, you can explain.
So Brett from Air Ride and I show up at Chad's house, and they're going to go do shock testing the next day down at Vista? Was that where you guys were going?
No. Where do they do where the gypsum place is and stuff?
Oh God, I can't remember. Anyway, down by
Plaster. No, not Plaster. Plaster City. We were going to Plaster City. That's where we were going. Yep.
So Brett and I show up at Chad's house, and Chad has both gas tanks laying on the ground. And Brett looks at me and he goes, he's kidding, right? And I'm like, no, he'll have it back together. And
I had to put new.
They're going to drive this thing down there. Now show the picture of the tire.
This is
you ever seen
This is before it got its new wheels and tires.
Yeah, you ever seen the Christmas Story? They're round and black and resemble a tire.
Yeah, you can still see some tread. Fine.
Oh.
I drove them for, I don't know, another 2 or 3 weeks probably before I got my new tires and wheels.
Yep.
Those are smoother than what was on the Caddy when I brought it home, and I got the Cadillac stuck in my front
There's no cords showing. It's fine.
Inch of mud.
There's no cords showing. It's fine.
You notice it had a great deal of positive camber.
Well, it's up in the air right there.
No, I'm talking about the wear mark on the tire.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Yes. But
it's up in the air. Yeah, that didn't do that to the tire.
No, I know. I thought you meant just because the angle, not the wear.
No.
But it's
that's not wear.
This thing drove good. Yeah, I didn't have any problem. And these tires were not the ones that were the flat spotted ones from when I got it. This was a whole other set of tires, but I think maybe not. Maybe they were the same ones. I don't know.
No, I think those were another set.
They were, because I bought a used set of wheels and tires. They were takeoffs. That's right. Because I didn't want to buy good tires because I was trying to find wheels, and then that turned into being like, instead of a month to get new shit, it ended up being 6 months or whatever. So,
you were bent on the low dollar deal for a long time on that thing. Like, keep this in the hundreds. It's like
we were trying to do everything we could on this thing as cheap as possible. So
save the stereo. We're out $9.
Yeah, it was awesome. But other than that thing, like, I'm trying to think. Like I had a 72 Buick Skylark convertible, and I bought it from a wrecking yard, and it was orange with white interior. It looked like a GS car, white top, really a nice car. Like you could tell it had been a nice car. Well, the body shop near me, they had it, and it was wrecked. Somebody had T-boned somebody with it. Well, it turns out that the car, they had painted it. They had redone this car, like all the body work. They had painted it and put a new top on it. And this dude gave it to his teenage daughter. She ran a stop sign, T-boned a woman, and killed her. Okay. So the car was at the, waiting on insurance and all the junk because it was a death and, all this stuff, right? So it had to sit at the body shop. Well, they just left it sitting outside. And in the Texas sun for years, like 4 or 5 years, something like that. Well, the top was shredded. The interior was actually okay. It was pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. It had like, the interior was white. It had like on the driver's side, the piping on the edge of the seat was a little crumbly because it'd been getting the sun on it, The whole front end was smashed. The right front fender was savable. Okay. So finally I had asked the body shop about it, multiple times or whatever. Well, it wasn't a real GS car. It was a small block turbo 350, etc. But it wasn't a real GS, but it had a GS hood on it and all that. So anyway, the body shop finally calls me one day and says, "Hey, if you want this thing, it's yours." And I said, "Dude, bring it," And so they have their own rollback. And literally we were 5 minutes away from them. So it, and we, Dad and I set it on the ground and everything. And in 45 minutes, we had the whole nose off of the car. We removed the entire front clip with core support and everything. It was just the engine sitting there, and had it running. And it ran great. It was fine. Like it sounded awesome, And so at that point, we knew we're in need. Oh, Steven's sending good photos. We're in need of getting this thing parts because this could be a cool car. So anyway, I acquire from Buicks. Can't get anything reproduction. So I find all these different Buicks all over the place in wrecking yards and find the Buick guy of Texas and whatever. And anyway, get a core support, fenders, a hood, grill, bumper, all the stuff. And the car had been sitting, like I said, and it had been really heavily hit. Well, it was hit hard enough that the A pillar where the door, bolted on was pushed back like a half an inch. Okay. So I used a port of power and some love and some swear words and moved it back to where the door fit good. And then it had crumbled the frame rail from the steering box forward on the driver's side. The passenger side was fine. So I found one of the parts cars I found at a wrecking yard. I cut off the frame horn at the right behind the steering box. And then I cut the frame in a nice pattern and plated it and put a new frame horn on it. Anyway, the car actually had some rust in it, had that repaired, had the whole thing primed and then DP90'd. So it was just, sealed, and then drove it for like 3 years. It did multiple power tours. I drove it every day. I put a carb spacer and a quadrajet that I fixed. I rebuilt a good quadrajet for it. I had to put a spacer on it because the Chevrolet quadrajet doesn't bolt onto a Buick or an Olds or a Pontiac or a Cadillac. So we did that and put a shift kit in it. It had like a 273 or a 308 gear in it. I can't remember which. This thing, I put a set of skinny center lines, 3.5s on the front with 165s. If I remember right, I cut a half a coil out of the front, or a coil maybe. And in the rear, it had N50 15s on 10-inch center lines, and they fit perfect under the thing. And I drove this thing like every day, and it would float the valves and bang second gear and chirp the tires every single shift. It was great. And I drove it until it was leaking oil bad enough to be annoying. And then it sat in the shop for like probably 6 months. And I went, screw it, I'm going to sell it. I sold it for like $1,000 more than I paid for it and had in it. So I made money on it and had driven it until I was bored with it anyway. So it was perfect, you know, but it was a great car. I loved that thing. But it looked horrible. So Steven just sent me a bunch of pictures, but they're on text. So I'm going to send these to myself on Messenger, and that way I can open them on the computer because these are funny. So I forgot about a
pretty high bar.
I forgot about a do what?
We got a pretty high bar here with the wagon.
I know. So I bought a truck. Steven and I went and bought a truck because we wanted it just for the LS, okay? And engine and trans. So we buy this thing and it is wrecked. And when you looked at the pictures, this thing looks like it's bent in the middle, like it's bent in half. Did you ever see the charcoal gray Silverado Crosby? Do you remember that thing?
No.
Okay. So it had,
I think I saw pictures of it, but
yeah. So it had been hit in the driver's side. We show up, we did all the right things, right? When you're going to buy a car, totally show up in the dark when there's no way you can see all of it. It's perfect, right? So we go.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. So we go and get this thing, and yeah, this is just this thing.
Remember when we were going to looking at the box vans?
Oh yeah,
God.
that yeah, dude, God. We've had too much fun. I forget about all these things. So
that one down in Chino we went and looked at down off Riverside Drive that was buried in the back that had like $9 million in back fees on it.
yes, exactly. It did. It had at least $9 million in back fees on it. So here's
compounded
why,
daily.
Yeah. So here's why I bought this Silverado. Okay. I bought this Silverado for the two things in this picture.
Oh.
So this Mercedes was Steven's grandma's. Okay. And it ran, it's a diesel. Okay. So it ran, but it like made like 40 horsepower. Okay. And
if you're lucky.
And it was, we were going to build it, and it was a diesel, so you could have it in California and they'd never know, and you can LS swap it, it'd be fine. So we were going to do this. So I bought the truck, right?
Yeah, I remember this plan. If I remember right, yeah. There was some beer involved in this one also.
Yes.
There was no roofs cut off or anything, but
no. So look at this. If you look at this truck on the trailer behind Steven's truck. Okay, yeah, look at the bed gap, right? Because it's been hit on the other side. Now, also keep in mind that this wheel and tire on the back was not, it was one of these chrome ones when we went to look at it. And it was aimed like at a 30-degree angle toward the passenger side. Okay. So it looked like this thing was just bent horribly. Oh, I'm sorry. It was pointing out of the driver's side. So it looked like this thing was just bent in half. It was parked next to a garage on concrete, but in the dark in Sandy or somewhere way down there. And so we tore it all apart. I sold the nose, the hood, a bunch of parts from the inside, but we pulled the motor and trans and all this stuff out. And then we rebuilt it this is sitting in my garage. We rebuilt it. We took all of the pistons and rods out, and filed them more and put them right back in. So it's turbo ready. And so here's the thing though. So this thing again was sitting there. We look at it and I go, I think this thing's okay. We fire it up. They said it made noise. We fire it up. It was god awful lifter noise. Remember your red Corvette when we fired it up the first time, Crosby, and how loud the lifters were?
Uh-huh.
That's how it sounded. Okay. Not a flat tappet camshaft. It's not supposed to sound like that. So I put ATF in oil and let it run for 15 minutes till it's up to temp, shut it off. 2 hours later, do the same thing. 3 runs like that. It was mint, fully rebuilt, no lifter noise, quiet as a mouse, right? So, but the thing is, we fired it up and it sounded horrible there in the driveway. And I said, I don't know. I think it was $700 and it had a title. And I think I talked her down to 600. So we put we look under it. It has a spare tire under it. So we drop the spare, change the spare out on this thing in her driveway. It's got to be 10 o'clock at night or something at this point. So that's how it's sitting. I get in it and Steven goes, so do you think the trans works and everything? And I put it in reverse, it works. I put it in drive, it works. I'm like, I don't know. I think it's okay. I put it in drive. I put my foot on the brakes and wood the thing. And I go, what? Light the tires up in her driveway? And I'm like, yep, we're good. Drove it out of her driveway onto my trailer and we strapped it down and hit the road. And the entire way home, yeah, Steven said it was almost Mexico where we were to get this thing. We laughed like little kids because this thing, we were like, this is good. And the only thing that kept us from driving it on the street when we were done, because I was going to drive it to Crosby's one night for Taco Tuesday. That's what we were doing because it looked so bad, dude, going down the road. When you look at this picture here, this is the good part.
It is a taco.
Oh, it was. The extra cab part and the front of the bed is destroyed. Like you don't see it in this picture. But
would have fit right in driving through Chino.
Oh God, yes.
Banana.
But anyway, we go and it ran great. I was going to take it to Crosby's. I couldn't find the title. And she had given it to me, but I couldn't find it anywhere. And I was scared to death that like we're going to drive this wrecked thing down through Upland to Crosby's and we're going to get pulled over. And it had no plates on it or nothing. And I'm like, we can get away with this if I got a title in my hand and the bill of sale and I can go, oh, we just bought this thing. But if I don't, we're in trouble because it's not in my name. Somebody will take it. So we didn't drive it there. But oh, it was too damn funny. It was.
You notice that I was privy to this whole story, and I was not involved in it any way, shape, or form.
That is
by
true.
design. By design. So I told you
it
wasn't going to happen. You were never going to finish this deal, and I figured I was just going to get stuck in another project.
Oh, whatever. We had a great time with this thing. Me and Steven loved this thing. We would have finished the Mercedes, except he had to move and I had to move all at the same time, and it got shitty. Oh, here's the truck. Here's the here's another picture from Steven of us when this is in front of the house where we got it from. And it's fine. It'll buff out. All that's totally fine.
Get one of those little cookie sheet things on the grinder. It'll come out.
Yes. Oh,
the
totally.
shrinker.
Yes, you just got to pound everything out from the backside, and then what would have been really funny on this thing would have been to do a bodywork video and just lay in Bondo this thick would have been hilarious.
Saws all the inside out and then kick it out from the inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Push the doors, gauge it like a Jeep. You're out of the bed. We're good.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. In all honesty, because it really looked like there's no way this thing could drive straight, which it did. It was perfectly fine. If we'd have known like what we realized once we were there, that this thing was not bent in half, then I would have drove it home. Like, I mean, I wouldn't have had any hesitation in going down there and having like Claudia drop us off and then take a like totally fine. Wouldn't
Where
bother.
did the plates go?
What?
What?
What happened to the plates?
I don't remember. They didn't have them on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
probably left at the scene of crime.
Oh, this thing was great. And dude, so Cole got the rear end out of it, the disc brake rear end, and put it in his truck.
Mm-hmm.
I made him swap the other one under it so it would still roll. We filled the interior with every old wheel and tire I had that I wanted to get rid of. And the bed was all the way to the top of the cab full of stuff. And then we put it out a cargo net in the back seat. We laid over the top of it and strapped it all down. And then I called the guys that'll come and pick up any old car for scrap. And they came and took it. I was like, here you go, dude. And that dude put it up on the rollback. I will tell you that. Okay, you guys can all complain about whatever you want. It is way easier to get rid of a car in California than it is here. Like, way easier. Here in Texas, it is way more trouble to get rid of cars. These guys get all, oh, we'll take it for free. And then they get all snobby and shit when they come get them. It sucks. It's way not hard there. There's a jillion places, and they prefer if you have a title, but if you don't, they don't care. It's fine.
See, that's the only hang up here. You got to have a title.
Yeah, they say you have.
Well, you're supposed to have one out here, but that's not necessarily the
Well,
fact all the time.
I got thrown out of a pick and pull in Washington State because I brought a hood to throw away, and they wanted to see the whole car first.
Wow. Okay, that's entertaining. Yeah. This was good. Okay, we're gonna talk about one more car and then we're done. I'm gonna show this one that where is it?
I got a car right here.
You have a car right here? No. Oh yeah, I know. No, this one Liggett sent this, and he said, so this thing is actually cool, but it wasn't. It was cool, but it wasn't. So he sent this thing. He said he called it his $50 abomination. I think anybody on the planet would pay $50 for this car now. So this thing, he said, was $50.
What is it, like a 69 or 70?
Yeah, and
But he can correct me.
Here we go, and it had. Okay. He said that he owned it for 2 years before realizing that there was 30 inches of frame rail that had rusted away on it.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah, this thing was like the pinnacle of rot box, but on the surface, if you walk, it's a 20-footer. 20 feet away, the thing looks badass, just begging to be cleaned up.
So my buddy Paul bought a 71 Buick Skylark convertible from Mecum Auction here in Dallas a jillion years ago. And it was a really, really nice looking car. And he said it made this weird clunking noise. It sounded like something was hitting the floor, like when he would hit certain bumps or accelerate real hard. And so I went and got under it and start looking at it. And I'm not understanding why there's a dent in the floor directly above the lower control arm mount. Like, I don't understand how anything is up there hitting. And then I take a closer look and find out that the driver's side frame rail, approximately 2.5 feet of it is custom fabricated from undercoating. Literally bought it from Mecum, and you know what they said?
Yep.
Too bad. You bought it as is, where is.
Yeah.
Not our problem. We're not putting you in contact with the seller. Too bad. I had to rebuild. I had to put 3 feet of frame rail in the side. Like, I cut out and built a plate to be the outer frame rail, then built a plate to be the lower. I mean, so the inner and the top was okay, but the bottom and the side were not, and it was literally twisting up and hitting. It was unbelievable, and I mean, I had to rebuild the thing, and it put such a sour taste in his mouth. He didn't want anything to do with it. Oh, okay. So Liggett says, I drove it to California in 1988 from Omaha, where he lived. Stopped at Bonneville and did 140 miles an hour with the fenders flapping away.
I had, I think my fourth car was a 71 Caprice Classic convertible. And the car that I was building for my well, I was actually just doing the chassis for his 62 convertible. And the phone bill came back. He didn't have enough money to pay me. So he said, I will give you the 71 and you pay the chrome bill. And I hadn't seen the car in years, and I figured it just been dilapidated and fallen apart. No, he'd had it painted. He had the interior done and the top done. Black, white interior, white top convertible, front, back, side to side on it, with true rays on it, a freshly built 350 Turbo 400. Car is flawless. Hands me the pink slip. The next day, we're going surfing in San Onofre, me and my friend Ralph, and we have the boards hanging out of the back of it. And I went up, had it registered in my name, got insurance on it and everything. And we're going to go surf, and the highway patrolman pulls me over. It almost at gunpoint, thinking that we had stolen the car. Because it's full on freaking lowrider.
Yeah.
And he goes, there is no way this car belongs to you. And I hand him the registration, got my name on it, hand him my driver's license and everything. And he goes, what the fuck is wrong with you? I go, how much time you got?
Yeah, exactly. That's a loaded question there, Sparky.
And he shaking his head, let us go. We went surfing back in the day, long hair, my board that I still have, my Lightning Bolt 6.6 hanging out of the back of the thing, and had a ball.
That's hilarious.
That car was great. I sold that thing for, I got almost 20 grand out of that car.
Wow. All right, boys.
Yeah.
It is 9:15 Central. I will Liggett says he found the rust in the frame on it when he was hosing the salt off from Bonneville. I love that.
Well, it was a salt from Bonneville.
I'm gonna end the show with this. So Steven just sent me a picture of a car and a listing on Marketplace, and it's a 64 Buick Skylark.
Oh crap.
And it says, tell me why I don't need this. And my reply to him was, ooh, don't do it. Finish what you have. I say this because I think that is the smart move, and I never say that. Although McTaggart has heard me say no on projects before. Like, not to buy things. Not for you not to buy them, not me.
Well, true.
I'm always the worst, but I give good advice. Like, I talked Wickman into not spending stupid money on a transmission he didn't need. I just am not.
Yeah.
Listen to what I say, not what
Don't
I
do
do.
as I do as I say.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm going to leave here shortly and go have dinner with the Allen clan.
Oh, very nice. They're in town?
They're in Cali. They're picking up a 65 Mustang GT350 car that was a Shelby built, one of three, that was at some driving school. And the guy that owned it previously, unfortunately, passed away. Owned it for 56 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
So they're going to pick that up. So I don't know how many GT350s John has now, but to my knowledge, that would be 4
Wow.
because he's got a Shelby big block car or a big block Cobra and a small block Cobra,
Oh, wow.
along with the 150 other freaking cars he's got.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, Otis.
Yeah. Otis is now going, it's my street. I'm barking at you.
Yeah. And Mark just texted me and he said he's 20 minutes away and we're going to Black Angus.
Well, there you go.
Going to the Black Anus.
The Black
The
Anus.
Black Anus.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. McTaggart, thank you for dude, that was like the whole history of McT and cars, and I loved it.
Even close, dude.
I know a lot of things now about you that I never wanted to know.
Yeah.
Again, you haven't seen the start of it.
I still think Wickman wins for the car we'd most like to all cruise in. I'm down. If you find a really shitty Malibu wagon or any G-Body wagon, make it a crummy G-Body that nobody cares about wagon. But I love wagons. But make it a horrible car, like a rusty one or something bad.
It can't be a Malibu. It needs to be like a Cutlass or something.
Yeah, make it a Cutlass. Make it a Pontiac, whatever those stupid ones were. Make it something that I don't.
I actually like the grill. I think McTaggart's along with me on this one. I like the grill on the Cutlass better than I do on the Malibu.
Oh, I disagree, but
I'm good with that.
Winner
for me is the Le Mans that has the Trans Am look to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say get one that's rusty and crappy and that we don't care about, and I will gladly donate my MIG wire to rebuilding parts out of MIG wire, and we will make it whole, and we will cut the roof off. We will weld the door shut. We'll shave the whole thing. We'll cap the rails. We can do all of it in like a day.
Yep. And we'll put a 50 cal stand in the back of it.
Yes, 100%.
Stripper pole. Give me something to hang on.
T-shirt cannon.
Oh, there you go.
T-shirt cannon.
Yes.
T-shirt cannon. Oh shit.
Oh yeah.
Chad just got a new idea.
Oh no. The
traffic announcers are going to have something new to work with.
Yeah. No, Chad, I've got it. I've got the perfect idea for you. Cut the roof off of it and put stand bases in the chassis that you can build your camera stand off of.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be great, dude. Car to car, it'd be the.
Could you imagine how much that thing would move around?
It'll be so twisty. It'll be perfect. You might actually build a roll cage in it, but that only comes up to the door height just to stiffen the car up. But who cares? No, it'd be totally stiff because if we weld the door shut, it's all one piece.
No, I mean the suspension when you're up on top of it.
Oh, no, I know. I'm with you on that, but I'm just thinking about how crappy the rest of it, but it'll be mint if we weld the door shut. Perfect. It's like a monocoque chassis at that time.
You want me to come out and do camera work again, right?
Yeah.
Just make sure you take the lock buttons off so you don't rip something off that you want to keep.
Yeah.
Hey, today's
all done it.
Today's what?
Today's fun tech tip.
Yeah.
If you ever lose your bottle opener, just epoxy it into a can of One Shot.
Oh yeah, you got it. I knew you were. You said you were getting that.
What the hell?
Yes, he bought it.
Well, mine hangs on the refrigerator on a magnet.
Yeah.
A real earth magnet.
I did something in straight up rage in the building.
But wait, there's more.
Okay, we're trying to leave, dude.
Oh,
that's
Jesus.
The piston one. He bought that for his wife. He bought that for his wife.
No, she got the picture.
Oh, that's right. She got the picture.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, he did buy her actual artwork. So, yeah.
We'll say that for later.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, and we're sorry. Really, actually,
What?
I'm not sorry. I don't care. You could have turned us off. It wouldn't have mattered.
Anytime.
We don't even care. We would still be here laughing for
Yep.
the 5 people that cared. We didn't care. Doesn't matter.
3 words.
Yeah.
3 words. G-Body Wagon. Find one.
Convertible. That's 4 words. Roadster. 4 words.
I think
G-Body
that would
Wagon.
be
Roadster.
it's 4-door. It'd be a Phaeton.
Oh, it would be a Phaeton. That's right. G-Body Phaeton. It is 3 words.
Phaeton.
See? Perfect.
Imagine that with some North Houston knee knockers on coming out of the middle of the hubs.
Dude, no.
No. Not doing it.
Well,
Not gonna do
maybe
it.
if it's been candy painted again, we might talk.
I would body drop that thing.
I guarantee you, Bill over at Extensive has got a set laying around somewhere.
Oh my God, yes. But that guy is. Never mind. All right. Appreciate it, everybody. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Have fun.